Living in Roatan, Honduras, cost of living. So we just had tropical storm, excuse me, Sarah passed through. So I wanted to just walk on the beach to see, well, I get a lot of comments about how my videos are real, and well, it's social media, so nothing ever, well, what you see is what you get, or I do my best. So cost of living in Roatan, Honduras, it is going to vary significantly from what, well, a Time magazine and many articles do publish that publish mostly U.S. publications that go to a U.S. market. Why? I have no idea. But I did want to briefly talk about the average home price in Roatan is between $450,000 and $500,000 if you're looking at a single family home. Now that doesn't mean you have to spend that. It's just the average, and we're getting a lot of luxurious houses. We're getting a lot of people coming with money now, because relative to other islands like Grand Cayman, or well, even through Central America, Costa Rica, flew through there, it's probably 3 times the cost as Roatan. Roatan is also an island, so everything is about 33% more expensive than you would get somewhere else, and that has to do with shipping and duties and things of that nature. And just, well, if we're going to be technical, you're probably paying 50 to 100% more than what you would on the mainland, because it's what I lovingly call the Roatan tax, and that's because you can get it. Wrong, right, or otherwise. So we are a lot more expensive than mainland Honduras. Yes, we're Central America, but we're an island. So for cost of groceries, so I am a family of, well, 1 adult, 2 children who sometimes eat a ton, sometimes don't eat anything, 2 dogs that weigh combined about 160 pounds, and now most recently I have 2 cats. One just found her way to my house during a storm, and well, now she's mine. So I spend about $600 at the grocery store. I spend about $200 going out to eat. For the dogs specifically, I spend almost $120 per dog, and I feed them Kirkland brand dog food, and I give them Heartgard and the Frontline, which those darn things are expensive, and that does not include vet care, which is kind of, well, vet care here can be less expensive. It can be around 500 lamps or $20 to see the vet, and then whatever procedures they need. I got to take this little cat that got locked in my, somehow got in my fenced yard with 2 pit bulls, and well, you know what? The dogs liked her. She was nice. She didn't pee on my floor. Well, anyway, I digress. There were some other accidents, but at the end of the day, it cost me about $100 to get this cat from the verge of not going to survive to well, she's doing much better. It cost me about $100, and I took her to the vet 7 times. So things of that nature can be a little bit cheaper, but the food costs tend to be some of the biggest costs that I have. For a vehicle, I do pay a decent bit in gas. Is a little bit more expensive. I spend about $300 on gas, but I'm a realtor and I drive a lot. And in the United States, I would spend about $600 or so a month, drive over 2,000 miles, almost 3,000 miles actually a month. Driving in Colorado, covering a large territory. Here, I definitely don't drive as much, which is nice. But I do have standing bills for a family of 2 children, 2 dogs, 2 cats of around $2,500 a month. And that is living quite well and very similar to what I was living in the United States for $7,500. Very comparable living situations. Square footage is the same, but I lived in Colorado, so my expenses, my mortgage was around $4,000. This house is paid off, so it is slightly different, but I still have an HOA. My electricity is more expensive here. It's about double to triple what it is in Colorado, even given the temperature fluctuations in Colorado. For food, I don't eat out as much here, just because it's more of a production, I would say, than going out randomly stopping at a restaurant, and a lot of times it's just because I have to make reservations, or restaurants are only open for 3 hours a day, things of that nature, so I have to think about it a little bit more. And I can't Uber Eats my food, which was a big, man, Uber Eats really charges a lot. And after living here, even with the Hughes app, you can only order Papa John's so many times before you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna eat in. So anyway, I digress. I spend you know, about a third of what I was spending in Colorado. Now, I did live in Boulder County, Colorado, Boulder or Denver, so some of the most expensive places to live in the country, versus here. I live in probably definitely one of the more expensive areas for an HOA, living right on the beach. But something to think about, if you are coming from like where I grew up in Indiana, you're going to be probably paying 2 to 3 times what you would there. When I was looking at rents and just the cost of housing, like my grandmother's house, that will be put on the market. It's, what is it? I should know. Technically a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in Liberty, Indiana. Might be worth $65,000, maybe, on a good day. Versus if you have that same thing here with a 2-car garage, the land that they have, I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, 400, 500,000. So it's just, it really depends on where you're coming from. But my cost going from Colorado, which was very expensive, now I do live a different lifestyle. I don't go out and drink $15 drinks here. Things of that nature. I don't take Ubers, or I actually spend a lot of money on Uber. Cabs are a lot cheaper here. And I just don't do some of the things that I do in the US, so it's not a apples to apples per se, just more of a lifestyle difference. And I don't go to the Grand Kempton. I can spend $200 real fast, or go to that spot. I can spend $500 real fast. I just don't do that stuff here. Not that I can't, I don't know, I don't feel that I need to. So roughly, depending on where you're at, I spend $2,500 to live, I think, my ideal lifestyle. Could I spend less? Yeah. Could I live in a neighborhood that doesn't cost so much? Absolutely. So there are ways to live a lot cheaper. So if you are on Social Security thinking about retiring, or you have $1,500 a month, they are doing new residencies that require only $1,500. Mine's an old one, so it does require $2,500, but that's because I have legally 3 dependents. So it's just, you know, the cost of living, well, it's really all over the place. But I'd say for rent, you're paying a minimum of $500. I know the house that I personally own, I spend $1,200 a month on maintenance, insurance, HOA, gardener, things of that nature, where, you know, you could rent something. To rent what I have would probably be $2,000 to $2,500 a month, but then you wouldn't have sunk the amount of money that I sunk into my house. So it all really varies. Renting is, I know I'm a realtor and should be selling property right here. Sometimes renting is a little bit cheaper, especially if you're going to be here less than 3 years. Renting is really the way to go, but because buying and selling real estate costs around 20% of your home value, just if you put it all together. Just like what I tell people in the US, if you're going to live there for less than 3 years, I think it's just sometimes better. So I know, maybe, well, that's where you're getting honesty. So if you ever have any questions, let me be your first call. You might not like the answers that I have to give you, but I will give you answers from a person that has lived here on and off the island for 16 years, owned multiple properties, bought, built, learned a heck of a lot of lessons. That's a good way of saying absolutely screwed over, but now I know what to look for, and I'm very efficient at it. So thanks so much for giving me your call.